Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Provincial Office webinar, and a special welcome to those joining us for the first time. I do hope you're all safe and well. My name's Andrew Rydell, and I'm the Provincial Deputy Grand Secretary. The Corinthian Club is the newest new and young Masons club in the province and in United Grand Lodge. It launched during the pandemic and has gone on from strength to strength, holding regular online events using technology to maintain contact with its members. Here to tell us more about it is the chairman of the club, Wayne Haslam, and you should be able to unmute yourself, Wayne.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I'll hand straight over to you.
Thank you, Andrew. Good afternoon, brethren. I am Wayne Haslam, as Andrew's already said, chairman of the Corinthian Club. Thank you, Andrew, for the invite and giving me the opportunity to talk about our club and share with you all who we are, and what we've been doing over the last 12 months. So, as Andrew said, we are the Corinthian Club, the new and young Masons club for the Chorley and Leyland group of lodges and chapters. The club came about following the merger of the Chorley and the Leyland groups, where we already had two separate light blues clubs, the Leyland Lights and the Chorley Blues Brothers. It only made sense that we come together as the groups did to form one. The two committees managed to get quite a bit of time before lockdown and formulated a plan to come up with what we are now, the Corinthian Club. We cherry-picked subjects from up and down the country from several other already well-established light blues clubs, and we built on our already strong foundations to create the Corinthian Club. So our vision for the future was to be the best new and young Masons club in the country, active within Freemasonry, the community, and inclusive of friends and family, supporting and promoting Freemasonry to all. Our values, very much the same as Freemasonry in general: integrity, friendship, respect, charity. And our mission for the future, we wanted to provide a platform for new and young Masons to embrace one of our core principles of friendship, providing a new social circle outside of the lodge, providing learning opportunities to help advance with the great foundations and knowledge of Freemasonry. That was the plan. The plan was to organise a launch event over the summer and then formally launch in September. But as we now know, this was not possible. So when the pandemic started and we all went into lockdown, the team had to come up with a new plan. With the sudden suspension of Masonic meetings and the need to keep in touch with members, it became more and more important than ever before. So with an excellent team of technically minded brethren, the decision was made to hold a virtual launch of the club. So planning began. And as we headed towards our launch and the lockdown continued, we were looking at new ways of interacting with members. Adam, our event secretary, came up with the idea of having an app. Like many smartphones, clubs, gyms, etc., have an app with which to interact with members and manage the membership groups. We found a platform called the Teams app, where, like many other clubs, we developed the Corinthian Club Team app. The app has been an absolute asset to the club since we launched. As we haven't been able to meet in person, it's been an extremely interactive way of managing memberships, keeping in touch with memberships. And it provides us with a chat room where we can discuss up-and-coming events, advertise events, and a place where members can chat to one another in an open forum. At present, we have over 150 members on the app, which includes some 25 non-Masons. These members are potential lodge members who've been invited to join as a way of keeping them in touch and keeping them interested and making friends and contacts within Freemasonry before they start their journey. The app allows us to restrict content to members, so those who are not Masons can't see anything that they're not supposed to before they join. So if we hold a Masonic event then they wouldn't be invited along to it. The 3 levels of membership. So full membership is available to those within the Chorley and Leyland group. An associate member, which is a member of Freemasonry outside the group, and then non-Masonic members. So although the club is a new and young Masons club, we don't restrict it to just that. We do have members who are more experienced Masons, and it is really good to have them on board. And the club seems to be providing at the moment, with lockdown, a much needed interaction between brethren. So for our launch event, we invited Right Worshipful Brother Gareth Jones, OBE, to be guest speaker. Gareth is the Provincial Grand Master for South Wales, and he is the UGLE lead for New and Young Masons Club. He gave us a very insightful talk on the benefit of the clubs and the part they play in being a conduit between lodges, groups and provinces, providing interaction where it may not normally be attained. Since the launch, we've had quite a good number of events and talks and presentations, usually providing 1 per month. Some events have been just for Masons and others where we were very pleased to invite non-Masons. The events normally take form of introductions, then the guest speaker. We then run a Q&A session afterwards. And once the event is finished, we leave the Zoom call open for the attendees to chat openly for a while. Pretty much like a normal Masonic meeting where we all get together in the bar afterwards, only we have to pour our own beers. Unlike Worship Brother Cranage, where he sets his bar out well before the event. The Deputy Grand Superintendent, Paul Renton, provided us with another very insightful talk on the Royal Arch. And if I'm not mistaken, he has had already a few members wanting to show an interest in joining the Royal Arch. Another event, Worshipful Brother Tony Harvey, he created a talk specifically for us for the non-Masonic members with all you ever wanted to know about Freemasonry, but didn't know how to ask. And we opened this event up to friends and families. You could say that we've actually used lockdown and restrictions of our Masonic activities to our benefit. We've reached a far wider audience than if we hadn't launched virtually. So much so that we connected with the National New and Young Masons Forum, where we hosted one of their monthly national conferences in January, which for us was certainly a great achievement. This event attracted just over 170 members from up and down the country, a real success on our part, and just to prove how well we've been received throughout our peers of Young Masons clubs. We have the opportunity to host more of these national events, but hopefully our main goal is to host the New and Young Masons Conference right here in West Lancashire, of which we have attended several events ourselves up and down the country. We've hosted a Christmas quiz for members and their families, which is again another great success, and it's something that we will be adding to our repertoire. I think we'll be doing that bi-monthly, and that will be open to all friends, family, members. All our events are free to attend, but we have created a giving page. So if attendees wish to make a charitable donation, we post a link on our social media pages and in the chat room whilst on the event. Donations at the moment mainly go towards the 2021 festival, but we do offer donations to our guest speakers' charities as well. Our most recent event, which was only last Friday, we were delighted to be joined by Worshipful Brother Gary Smith from the Perfect Points, who presented a very interesting and eye-opening paper on Freemasonry and the Holocaust. Another well-attended event, and I do believe the chat afterwards went on for a considerable amount of time. So, as you can see, brethren, we really do cover some great topics of interest, things we don't ordinarily link to Freemasonry. Planning has been the key to our success, and we already have our 2 next events booked in. Next month, we'll be honoured to welcome Christine Chapman, the Grand Master of Freemasonry for Women, who will be giving us a talk entitled Women in Blue. This event again will be open to members, including non-Masons and their respective partners, and details will always be available via the app and sent out via secretaries near the time. The following month, we do have another presentation, which will be open to all. We've managed to enlist one of the tour guides from the Rosalind Chapel in Scotland. And this will include a PowerPoint presentation, which will almost give us a virtual tour of the chapel, and will also feature all the aspects which have a particular interest to Masons. So, brethren, as you can see, as a club, we've been very active and very, very busy during lockdowns, and have found the club to be very well received by our members and associate members. It's begun to keep busy and create what we have become today. Obviously, we can't all wait to get together and hold a real event where we can all meet up and share a pint or two. But until that day comes, we remain very, very active in our own virtual world. As to the future, we're already planning designing our own website with provincial approval, of course, where we will have blogs and links with, associated to other Masonic clubs and events. We will hopefully have a link to a Masonic shop where we'll be able to offer our members discounts on certain items, and hopefully, in planning, some of our own merchandise. So that's all from me. Thank you all for listening, and I hope I've given you enough of an insight into our club and the relevance and importance of new and young Masons clubs, and hopefully see you at some point at one of our future events.
Thank you
very much.
Thanks, Wayne. As you know, and I'm sure lots of the brethren knows, I have a slight invested interest with new and young Masons clubs, with my background with the Connaught Club in London and various other clubs around the country. And it's certainly a kind of passionate topic of mine regarding how new and young Masons clubs help engagement across the board by helping people get together who are at the same life stage, as I tend to refer to it as, so that people can help understand Masonry with people who are the same age as them, but also have the same life pressures as them, which, if you kind of always so associating with people a number of years older than you, it can be difficult. That context can be lost sometimes. So I certainly have a new affinity with this. I've been very impressed with the Corinthian Club and how they've gone about it, particularly with the fact that it was effectively launched with the pandemic, and I know it wasn't necessarily going in dry. What were the main challenges that you faced? Obviously, you had two clubs, relatively successful groups coming together. As you say, both had established new and young Masons clubs within them. What were the challenges that you had when you kind of brought those people together?
From both committees?
Yeah.
We did have, there wasn't a great deal of challenge because both committees were extremely open to each other's ideas, and we'd already been very supportive of each other's clubs as well. So it was a case of bringing those two things together and picking from each club which things worked the best. Like I said, we looked up and down the country at other clubs, and we picked out from those. So we just put all those in a pot together with the things that made our two clubs as strong as they were, and then just fused all those together to create what we did. Like I say, we were both committees very, very open as to how to take this forward, because of the integral part that they play within Freemasonry. And like you say, bringing those people together all at once, outside lodges, and trying to provide a platform for others to meet socially, whereas they wouldn't normally meet in lodge rooms.
Yeah, this is a really stupid question, or seems like a really stupid question. You obviously came together at the beginning, no pandemic in sight, or kind of nothing there, and you had plans to do something, and presumably included in that was some kind of talks or events like that. How much of the program have you actually had to change, or how much of the stuff would you actually be doing anyway?
At the moment, the program has changed completely. We wouldn't have been having as many lectures and talks. What both clubs did before we merged, we had a social event, either bowling, or we even, the Leyland Lights, had a night at the Dogs, which was a great evening. We incorporated, so 1 month we would do a social event, the month after we'd do a lecture or a Masonic talk, and that's how we worked it. Obviously, we can't meet socially. We can meet virtually, which isn't quite the same, but we thought it best that we try and hold some non-Masonic talks and some Masonic talks, so we keep those that are waiting to come into the fraternity all connected at the same time. I mean, it would be great to get out and physically meet some of our members, as it would with our own lodges, but we've just had to adapt and do the best we can. And like I say, it really has given us such an advantage to reach such a wider audience, whereas if we just stayed within our Chorley and Leyland group, we probably wouldn't have got as far and wide as we have.
It certainly had lots of reach. We know that if people are engaged and active with New and Young Masons clubs, that their retention levels are significantly better.
Mhm.
It can have kind of 70-80% increase in the retention rate if somebody is involved in a New and Young Masons club. Obviously, people we haven't been meeting. Have you had any kind of inklings, or has anybody expressed frustration? Basically, has anybody intimated that had it not been for the Corinthian Club, they may not still be in Masonry?
Yes, we have. Unfortunately, not every lodge has been able to meet. Not every lodge has been able to have Zoom meetings and things like that. And we have had an odd member who had been initiated, and then when the pandemic came, all Masonic links seem to have been cut. And if it wasn't for the Corinthian Club launching, he probably wouldn't have remained a member. So it's important for a club's point of view, and it is also important to keep those links between lodges and their members going, because we've seen so many people come and go in the past, even when we've not been in lockdown. And this, we don't have to go anywhere. We can stay at home and we can interact with other members virtually for the time being and keep those interests going.
I think that's possibly one of the most powerful things that anybody has said on the webinar, on any one of the webinars over the past year. The fact that these clubs are, it's real. It really does make a significant difference to people and their engagement. That being said, what comes next? A lot of clubs kind of start up really well. They're really well planned. They're really well formed and are successful very quickly. Have you done anything in the way of kind of succession planning to make sure that it's not just this year, it's not just next year, it's as you kind of roll forward and you can maintain that success and the fantastic energy that has gone into the club? Have you kind of looked ahead in terms of what you want to be doing in a few years' time, that kind of thing, and where you want to be?
Well, to be honest, our plan forward will be to be moving our plan backwards and what we initially started out to do. So everything that we had planned initially, as soon as we do come out of lockdown, we'll be able to throw those plans back into place and begin to have the social events, the Masonic events. We also do intend to carry on virtually because of the success we've had up and down the country with the members from other provinces. It would just be crazy not to keep those brethren interacting with us. So whether we hold an event and host it virtually at the same time, or whether we just do specific virtual events every other month, something like that, the plan is there. But it'd be great to get back to the initial plan and hold a launch event and meet with brethren, meet with new members. We met last week with 20 or so potential members just to introduce the club, and they've already signed up, quite a few of them, to the app and joined in one of our events already. So it's nice that we've already got that connection with the potential members moving forward.
And also being able to engage with non-Masons as well, or potential members. Is that, are they kind of specifically for the Chorley and Leyland groups, or have you got people from, you know, a few other places as well that you're kind of, you take it under your wing, so to speak?
Yeah, those members aren't specifically for the Chorley and Leyland group. I mean, we are in a beneficial position that our president is the provincial membership officer. So it goes without saying, it's a great link to connect those potential members from up and down the province with a New and Young Masons club. And it would be good to get other New and Young Masons clubs connected with those new members that are waiting to come in, and to get those introductions made beforehand.
There's I'm just looking at the chat at the moment. There's Neil's mentioned that got Deputy Provincial Grand Master for Bristol was on the call on last Friday. I know that you've had some quite eminent people joining the calls. I was on one the other week. The one with Mike, what's his face, and you had kind of everybody on that call.
Yeah.
I think it seemed like everybody, provincial Grand Masters from here, there, and everywhere, and all that kind of thing. And then another question about has it mainly been people bringing in lectures from outside, or have you done anything else using Solomon resources, for example?
We haven't used any Solomon resources. We've mainly got guest speakers. I mean, Solomon is absolutely fantastic for any Masonic information that you may ever need to know. It's all down there. Initially, we wanted to set out and bring in guest speakers. The idea of the club is initially a social club rather than a Masonic teaching club. It obviously goes part and parcel that we bring in things, guest speakers that, like I say, we don't ordinarily link to Freemasonry. We've had the building of King Solomon's Temple lecture, various things like that, but not always specifically Masonic based, just things that are based around Masonry rather than specifically Masonic.
Okay, good. The way the club was developed grew out of two clubs and has merged into what I think is going to be is going to continue to be a very successful club. Certainly has all the hallmarks of the other clubs that I've worked with up and down the country. Going forward is going to be very successful. If you had one piece of advice, it's a few group chairmen on, a couple of assistants on. If you had one bit of advice for a group chairman whose local club was maybe not doing as well as it could do, maybe things have gone a bit quiet, or maybe it's been difficult historically to get people engaged with it, what would be the one piece of advice that you'd give to them?
Find the passionate newer young members. Our committee was handpicked, I think, for that reason. When we formed the Leyland Lights, you can sort of see around lodges everybody that's keen to engage, keen to get involved, and it does go along the same lines of most committees. You ask a certain group of people to do something, and they end up getting it done because of the passion, because of the want to interact and create and all things like that. Things that are brethren that are passionate about Freemasonry and bringing lodges and clubs together and things like that. But yeah, I'd say head for the passionate ones.
There's lots of heads nodding. Thank you very much for coming in today and kind of giving up your afternoon just for a little bit of a grilling and a presentation. Just to absolutely finish off, what's the first event you've got planned when you can come and meet, or what's the first thing you'd like to do when we can actually get together?
Well, we would like to have a proper launch rather than a virtual launch that will definitely involve meeting up, having a beer with each other, and just saying goodbye to the lockdown.
just basically a bit of a piss up.
I never said that.
we know what you meant. Wait,
Yeah, of course.
thank you very much for being here. It's like I say, it's been great to see the club develop and the energy that it's had and continue, and I do wish you all well and for it to go strength to strength from here on in. So thank you very much for coming in and just talking about it.
Thank you very much. Absolute pleasure.